Hi friends, it's Peg, and today on Art Joy Sharing Live, Chelsea and I were doing cards. Why? Well, it's the season of cards and friends and holidays and creating and sharing, right? So today, I did not get my camera running immediately as I got started, but I'm showing you some of the highlights from the live show. Now, if you don't know about Art Joy Sharing, that's a Facebook group that Chelsea and I run. And each week, Shell and I do a live show on Art Joy Sharing YouTube channel. So I'm just gluing up some pieces, making a card. This is an acetate piece that has some alcohol ink behind it and a die cut or two, and I'm just showing different die cuts that you could use on something like this and the different types of uh, fancy paper and what it does, how it embosses and cuts, and you can get different looks depending on the paper that you use. So I'm just enjoying having these things to use, and I'm picking out just what it is I'm going to use because I have different die cuts and things all ready to go because I'm making cards, and I do that. It's fun to go ahead and get some things made ahead so that all you have to do is kind of an assembly line when you're card making, because you have a lot of people to send cards to, and it helps if you have components ready to go that you can just glue on a card front. So that's another die cut over the acetate, and then this is a Tailored Expressions. Their stamps come in a block, and you get all these different sentiments, and then the die will cut out the strips so that you can use them, and then you can just stamp all of those ahead of time and store them in these little storage containers, and you've got all your sentiments ready to go. Another assembly line trick, in case you're into assembly lines. So, yeah, I was down at, what is it? Stamp Joy is what Tailored Expressions does each year. They have an event, and it was down at the convention center, and um, they were making cards and jewelry and gift boxes and different things. Sorry, I had to cut that out. Those darn phones, they just go off at the worst times, don't they? So anyway, I am using this adhesive and stamps and things from Tailored Expressions. They're a local company, and I like to support local, so why not? If you're going to make cards, let's use something local. So we've got 2 cards now, and let's work on a third one. This is some velvet paper. I don't know if you guys remember this stuff. It's a specialty paper. I'm pretty sure you can still get it, but I've had it in my stash for years, and some of that stuff you just thought was too precious to use. You need to get out and put on a card. So I'm going to glue that velvet down. I'm going to trim it up. I'm going to add a die cut. Actually, I'm going to add the piece that I cut a die cut out of, because you can use both the back or in the front, right? And I stamped on another piece of that paper, and so I'm going to add that for my sentiment, and this card will be pretty much finished. Well, I don't know what I was thinking. I've got to have more bling than that. So I reached for my box of pearls and things and start adding, because why not? It makes it pretty. Okay, time for another card. So I have another piece of acetate that has some alcohol ink on it. It's still a little damp, so I'm just trying to dry it down a little bit. You don't want to heat acetate too much because it will buckle. But I have a card front, and I'm going to glue that down. Have to trim off a little bit of the end there. Glue that alcohol acetate down with just a border of my handy dandy dries clear adhesive from art glitter glue. Once I get that down, I'm going to add a frame. And so what I do is I butt that up against the edge and bottom of the card, and then I can trim out the rest of it just to make it all even. Quick and simple. Get some color down, and I I gravitated towards this kind of card when I was looking at cards in the Hallmark aisle, when I was looking for greeting cards before I started making my own. So now I'm going to audition a few different pieces, a few different die cuts to figure out what I want to put on this one. And yeah, I like the gold because it kind of brings out some of that color in the alcohol in the background. That would have been a choice. But in the end, I went for the snowy trees and turned the card to a horizontal. I'm showing some of the other snowflake pieces and things that I have in my stash that can be used on a card like this. And, that's what you do. Go shop your stash, figure out what it is you have, and then pick a technique, so whether it's an acetate or making a colorful background or just cutting pattern paper into shapes and layering. We used to have card recipes where you would just take a card recipe and you'd cut your paper down into certain sizes and layer it up until you had a finished piece. So this is a die cut. It's a Tim Holtz Sizzix die cut for Merry Christmas. And so I'm going to glue that on the front. And that will be a finished card. So I think I did one more card. These are some little dies with mittens and things that came in a set. And they have cute little candy canes and Christmas trees and all of that. Especially if you're making little tags or something, they would be cute. So I die cut those out. And I have a piece of paper. I'm going to use these color blocks from Diane Reevely and just colorize the background. Or, yeah, the mitten with the red ink. And I'm going to use a stencil on the background. I have a Tim Holtz stencil that's kind of a sweater knit, which I thought would be appropriate for the season. And since we're using this pattern paper out of this pack for the season, I'm going to pick a green and I like the darker one. So I'm just going to get a brush and stencil that pattern onto the paper. It'll look like a kale knit sweater. Now what I do, instead of, if I don't want the stark white, because I've got some of that color on my brush, I can just come back and add a little bit of that over the top and tone down that stark white background. And that's what I do. So now it's time to start assembling. And I'm looking for my, what do they call that? Liquid applique, because I want to put some liquid applique on the furry cuffs of the mittens. I don't actually get this done during the show because we do an hour and a half show. I don't get everything done during the show. But I did finish this card out and it turned out kind of cute. So now I'm colorizing the die cuts for this particular card using the same method, a brush and those same colors of ink pads. I've got a piece of forest green cardstock with a hole cut out of the middle sitting on my desk, and I'm thinking, well, I can use that for the card front. It's just sitting here, needs to be used anyway, so I'm going to glue that down to the card front. Make use of the things that you have. That's my motto. So I'm going to glue that down. I'm going to get some of those other papers, do a little paper piecing, and finish this card out. And that'll be it for our live show for the first week, November 4th of 2021. I hope you join us for the rest of the month. We're planning on doing seasonal things all month long, so stick with us. What we're working on is the perfect recipe. That's a hashtag AJOS perfect recipe. So if you're looking for things from the other creators from the group, use the hashtag perfect recipe and see what they're doing. I actually want to do some recipe cards and things, so we'll see how far I get this month. Anyway, thanks for being with me today, for liking, sharing, subscribing, all of those things that are important to YouTubers. And I will see you again soon. Happy holidays.